I'm going to go over what I saw since the middle of December in regards to quarterly theory and the index futures triad. So it all started with this downswing. So if we can come check this out. Now in this downswing area, at that time, we formed a 1 week PSP candle. If you don't know about PSP candles, basically it's when an asset that should follow each other very closely makes a green candle and a red candle in the same time frame. So if you look here at NQ, we see on the 1 week we have a green up candle, and on the down we have a red down candle for ES. Now, at that time, not hindsight, I posted this post on X saying, you don't even know, with a little more clarity in kind of my Discord journal, saying this 1 week candle closed as a PSP. This is the 6th time this year this has happened. All other times led to 4 weeks of retracement, or at least 1 week of retracement. Now, it's significant that this is basically, it could be a swing high. So it has potential for retracement. If it's more of a swing low, then you might want to expect it to go up or stop a retracement. So in this case, if we look back, then we actually did have about 5 weeks of retracement to get about, let's see, we went down about 4,000 ticks, or 1,000 points, which is significant. Now, what stopped the bleeding, as you can see, is if we mark out the Q4 lows. So if you mark out, okay, well, what's the low of Q4 in 2024? So this is 3 months of time here. So the low for NQ would be here. The low for ES would be here. And the low for YM would be here. Okay, so do you see what I'm seeing here? We have a sequential yearly SMT, or sequential yearly SMT quarter to quarter. So this one's called revolving SMT when it goes Q4 to Q1. So also a weekly close down there, which is significant. So at this time, to stop the bleeding, I did post that observance here. A person was posting on X that the YM close, and on their chart it didn't look like it took out the Q4 low, and I told them that they were using the continuous contract, and it looked misleading because the YM H contract had taken the close and even or the low of Q4, and even closed the weekly candle below it, hitting those lows. I'm seeing it as bullish SMT between YM and NQ, Q4 2024 versus Q1 2024 on the 1 week chart. I'm seeing it as significant, so that's why I care about this price range at all. Just noticed and thought I'd let you know. So, so that was significant in my eyes. And then, as you can see, the following week we had one small dip down below all of those lows from the prior week, and then we've just been up since then. So also around that time we had CPI, so early January CPI, and that's when I got really bullish for swings and did really well with some option swings on YM and QQQ, actually TQQQ. So let's just go look back. Let's see. Okay, so let's look back. So this was the 2nd week of January. So let's zoom in now from the 1 week chart. Let's go down into the daily chart. So if we go look at the daily chart, let's change which quarters we're looking at. So instead of yearly, now let's go monthly and weekly. Okay, so where is CPI? So CPI came on January 15th. So I was seeing bullishness already prior to January 15th. Yeah, you can see it here. So we already did our weekly close, we did our dip, and then immediately, so basically the low was January 13th, 2 days prior to CPI. Now something that Trader Day says is that CPI is actually a really clear thing that you'll see bullish or bearish SMT before CPI happens and kind of know the direction that it will take you. And I've seen that to be true. Just sometimes CPI won't be as clear a move or one direction move as most times. So if we just mark it out, okay, so CPI was this day, Wednesday, the 15th. Okay, now where I saw bullishness is you can see that we have, what do we have here? At the low. So on January 13th, that Monday, that dip, we have a PSP candle. Okay, so right here you have a PSP candle. And let's just mark it out here. So now if we come zoom in to the 1 hour around the 15th. So the day prior I was swinging calls for that day. So here's the 15th, that's the CPI move. Now we dip in, basically I was just looking for a dip. So we did dip in NQ, we got 50% of the PSP candle, which is basically that is a discount area to purchase if you are expecting bullish moves. Now, you can also look to purchase SMT. Now, at the end of the day, there was an SMT here, which this I did buy as well. So if you can see between um, two quarters in the afternoon session, NQ did one final dip. And I'll show you which quarters those were to see if they were sequential. And ES showed more strength. Okay, now let's go in more to a 5-minute time frame, and that's where you can see kind of those 90-minute quarters. So if we go to the daily and the 90-minute, all right, I have to zoom in here. Let's see. Okay, way back. All right, here we go. So this was a sequential SMT as well. Thank you for your patience. Let's come back here. Oh my God, 5-minute time frame going back a few weeks. So I'm sure there's an easier way to do this. All right, now, so this basically was your ideal entry, basically. So you would have bottom ticked this with the sequential SMT here. So this is the afternoon session. Let me dig a little bit more into it. We are seeing the 90-minute cycles. Let's see. I feel like it's not showing enough. So look, here's quarter 3, here's quarter 4. So yes, I do remember I did buy some futures entries here, and it was basically the ideal spot, which gave you SMT, it gave you the dip. We are in the 50% range of the PSP candle, and it rallied and then kind of dipped overnight and then just took off. So that was just kind of like the bottom tick of everything to come into now where we are in the end of January. So now let's zoom out again. Let's see more kind of what happened. So this PSP candle that started the entire rally, this is where we bounced from Monday, which is interesting. You can kind of see like what is an SMT fill in a way. SMT fill is when basically when one asset is getting into an FVG and another isn't. But as you can see, this NQ dipped even more. It got back into the 50% range and actually took the low. Look at that. Did it take the low from the day prior to CPI? It did. Look at that. It took it by a tick. So Monday took that low by a tick. It held here, so it's not making another SMT. Like what kind of SMT would that be? So that might not be sequential, or is it? How many days is that? No, that's like 2 weeks ago. So let's open this up and we go to the monthly. So that's showing you the weeks breakdown. So yeah, that wouldn't be sequential. So that's quarter two versus quarter four. That is, I mean, two SMTs could be the doubling theory, but here, let's just kind of go into this. So you kind of see SMT here by NQ digging into the PSP, which is once again an area where it could find support or liquidity. Now the same PSP candle, you can see, so this is the equivalent low for ES, which it didn't take it at all. Now it came into a bullish FVG. Now you can kind of see how some FVGs work and some don't, right? Why do some work and some don't? So this one didn't create an FVG at all. Um, it came back, retraced beyond it. This one came into the imbalance and then shot off of it. So at that point, you could judge, okay, well, if we do start seeing strength, you can buy into it. Now, I wasn't kind of zoomed out on that day, so I didn't see that. But if I was zoomed out, that would be a very appealing area to start buying. Now you can see YM is stronger than all of them. YM didn't dip to its equivalent FVG, which is down here. Okay. Now, also, what do we see here? This is a PSP candle, okay, versus YM, okay. So we formed a gap. YM formed a gap, but it even closed it that same day. So this is where the gap started. I'll change that color. So you can see just like, okay, this shows potential for continuing support. So, and that's what it did. So this PSP candle that formed that day, when it bounced down to that PSP and it bounced to this bullish FEG, now under the candle body ended up being the ideal entry. So that's why kind of PSP candles are important, because you'll know, okay, we might be forming support or we might be forming resistance if, say, it's like a swing high. And I can show you examples of that. So under that candle body became the purchase, right? So it dipped here one more time, and you could buy it. And then YM, it never even touched it, and but it did have some continuation the next day. Now I'll show you one example of when basically the rally was over. So if we go to like the 4-hour chart, so we did our rally. Now up here, this 4-hour PSB candle, this marked the top. So we came down off of that. We did form some SMT. So if you can see that, that's a bearish SMT. We have it here versus here, right? Now, what kind of SMT is that? Let's see if that is sequential in some way, which I think it was. Yeah, I believe it was. So if we go to the weekly SMT, yeah, look at that. So, well, not exactly, right? So this is Wednesday versus Friday. Um, that could be with days doubling theory. So with days doubling theory, then it would be two quarters versus the next 2 quarters. But I don't think that really matches. So this is just regular SMT, and one thing that Day has said is that regular SMT is just um, basically liquidity, so it should be a target, used as a target later on for price to get it back up to, and it looks like we could be doing that, right? So we're bouncing off of a few other 4-hour PHP candles, and potentially this could be the draw here. So next try, and then getting close to it too here. Now we ended the day on a pretty big dip, but how we ended the day, if you can see this, if you come to a 1 hour chart and we show the days, so this was Thursday and then Friday. So if you look at the lows for Thursday, this was the low, this was the low, which was not taken. And for YM, this was the low, which was taken. All right, so what's that? So this is a 1 hour chart. This is weekly sequential SMT on the 1 hour chart, and we already formed a 1 hour PSB candle. So potentially starting on Monday, we could see a bullish bounce from there. And what you would risk is probably you want to see if these Friday lows, which one is taken, if there's any SMT between Friday's lows, like bullish SMT, to support the idea of bullishness going into Monday. Um, so check those. You can probably buy small value entries down here or below it. Now you can probably see ES is very close to its low. So maybe it could dip down and then come back up while NQ dips down, doesn't take it, and then potentially comes back up. And then you can buy this PSP candle upwards, aiming for ultimately that old leftover SMT that was not sequential for a target. Now, one thing I did see as well, so if you come on, let's zoom out on the monthly chart. We'll delete some of these markups. And I'll show you one more thing that I saw kind of on a higher time frame. One thing that we see on the monthly chart is we see what's called hidden SMT, where based on the candle bodies. So right now we didn't make an all-time high, right? I was under the assumption that January would close a candle body above an all-time high, but we didn't do that. So what you do see is hidden SMT. So if we break this out, this is, we'll put in on the highest time frame, but what you see basically is that NQ made a higher high candle body on the 1 month time frame. So imagine 2024 versus 2025, right? That kind of SMT. So you're seeing SMT here, high versus high. And so this is a bearish SMT. Potentially we could be talking about long-term topping to come down for 2025. This is year versus year bullish, or sorry, year versus year versus year um, bearish uh, sequential SMT. So that is the quadrennial cycles. So what you would want to see with this is if this is still our liquidity up here, like last month's high, you might want to see, okay, allow this to be taken, and then see if we find, say, um, quarter versus quarter bearish SMT, that might start the downturn. Some type of lower time frame SMT, but not too low, so more like monthly cycles or yearly cycles. You'd want to look for that, and then potentially that might mark a top for more down. All right, so that's kind of like what I see from a quarterly theory point of view. Hopefully this was helpful to some people, and thank you for watching and have a great one.